Hello. How's everybody doing? Just waiting for my friend Nadine to come on. We're going to do a Love Me Chit Chat episode. Just a quick little talk about what she's experiencing reading the book and waiting for some people to join us too. Oh, there's Nadine now. I will ask her to join us. Should be there in a second. There you are.
Hello, hello. How are
I'm
you?
doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Really
Yeah.
good. Got your love me hat on again. I love that.
Yeah. It's been an interesting time. The weekend, I went through something, and it's interesting we're having this conversation today. There's always new things popping into
Oh,
uh, to process, and life is just like that. We never know what's out there for us. And so, anyways, we'll get into that maybe. But I'm
I'm
doing I'm
sure we
doing
will.
well
I'm
today.
sure
It's a new moon. We have a new moon tonight, and it's a perfect
yes,
time
that's right.
to have all those things come up and feel them and process them. And that's, I think, partly
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about. So
There's so
so
much energy, isn't there? There's so much, whatever's going on. We've got in bulk, we've got the new moon, like you say, it's all that. The universe is, even if we don't quite like the way that it does it for us, it's
right,
helping us, isn't it?
yeah,
And sometimes it can be a bit confusing, can't it?
it
But
can. And
yeah.
cloudy and not so fun. But anyways,
Yeah.
welcome whoever's joining us, whoever watches
Yes.
this after on the
Hello.
replay.
Yeah.
I'm Trish Campbell, the author of Love Me, and I'm with my good friend Nadine Searle of Calmer Self. She's a calmer self coach, and we're just, like I said at the beginning, talking about some points in the book that have sparked some insight and reflection on Nadine with Nadine, and yeah, just talking those through as she goes. And so,
Exactly.
do you want to share what it was in
I
Love Me, or what part of the book, or what it was
yes,
that
I
sparked this
can't
one?
wait to share. You've been a little tease, haven't you, Trish? You've been
Yes.
hinting at what we're going to talk about, and I love that. But yes, what I would like to discuss with you today, and I'm sure everyone else will want to join in, I'm sure everyone can relate to what we're going to talk about, is where you've said, and I'll quote a couple of bits that I picked out of your book. Um, they were in the poems, in two different little poems actually, but probably the word's been there quite a lot, and it's that easy button. So
Mm,
first of all, you said about there's an easy button for everything. Now people might not quite get what that means, but that's what we will discuss. But that's absolutely right, isn't it?
yeah.
And also then you've said as well, there's no transformation awaits until after, sorry, I'm going to say that again. No transformation awaits after hitting that easy button.
Right.
That's powerful. That is powerful.
Yep.
So would you like to explain to, I mean, I know where the easy button came from now, you've explained it to
Yeah.
me, but from
So
your meaning, what you were meaning by that easy button.
yeah, so the easy button is for anyone that knows, probably back in the early 2000s, there was a company called Staples that had a little red easy button, and their marketing was you push the button and it's done. It's done. That was easy. So I use that as an analogy, a metaphor for taking the easy way out, because there is an easy way out for everything. And it really, my process of healing and really exploring into the deep pain that I was in, and then um, you're presented with a choice whether to go in to it or to say, okay, I'm okay. I don't need to go there. I can move on, and kind of stay in that same story that I was in. So I why I and there it is a couple in a couple places in the book, because it was such a powerful part of my healing, and also a point of frustration, because while I was going through a process of grief, as we've talked about, this book
Mm,
was sparked from, it began at the end of a relationship, and I saw somebody else kind of hitting that easy button and avoiding
Yes.
dealing with the same things I was like in deep pain and grief and feeling everything. And if you read the book, you'll see how all the details of that. But it really brought me to, to explore that within myself, like why that was such um, a message for me, that contrast of what I was going through versus what he was going through.
Yeah.
And then, but really understanding that one is a way of avoidance and we can escape, and we have all kinds of means to escape. And that's just part of for some reason, we don't like to be in discomfort as humans, but really that's part of our evolution, is our discomfort. And for me now I know if I'm not feeling uncomfortable, then things are a little bit too easy for me. And, there's always deeper lessons and healing within that place. That's a source of pain if we don't hit that easy button, if we don't try
Mm.
to escape it. Because when we do miss the lesson, because the lesson is in the pain. The lesson
Mm.
is in feeling your
Yeah.
way through it. Like so many
Mm.
people say, you have to feel it to heal it. And I
Yes.
know Cornelia says that a lot too, because she works with
Yes.
a lot of people healing the emotional body. And that's
Mm.
really what this is all about, is to face, not hit the easy button and run away, but to turn towards the pain and to really feel into it. Because what I've learned in that process, that it really wasn't that pain at the current time. It was that I was feeling all of the pain from my entire life that was triggered by that one moment. So it wasn't just
Mm.
about that relationship. It wasn't just about him and I and everything that I was going through in that current moment. It was about everything that I had experienced in my childhood and in my life leading. Anything that was painful in that sense was in that pain that I was feeling at that time. And I think that's why it's so important to heal and do the work that we do, and helping other people. Like we've taken our own experiences and then sharing that with other people. I mean, wouldn't you agree with
Totally
that?
agree with you. And I think this is the thing, isn't it? We're doing this chit chat now because we are hoping to help other people that can
Mm-hmm.
relate to what we're saying. Or maybe, as I did when I was reading those two little bits, that easy button really popped out to me. And I went, oh, is that me? Do I hit the easy button? Have I? Do I? That kind of, again, it made me stop the reading and question
Mm-hmm.
and have that little way to go. And where you first said there's an easy button for everything, there is. And I would think most people, we try and be happy, we try and avoid pain. It's sort of what we do, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But as you described there, we can't avoid it forever because it will come up and get you at some time. And that was my experience. I did push the easy button so many times, didn't realize. I've got to be honest, I didn't really realise there was a choice. I just wasn't going down the painful route. That was not happening.
Yeah.
But then at some point it does come up. And like you said, when you then do hit that grief or that sadness or that loss or whatever brings it up in a big way for you, like an end of a relationship and that pain and whatever's going through for you, then you're not then just dealing with one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with everything else that you haven't dealt with. And that was the hard lesson that I learned when it actually came to a time when I couldn't reach the easy button, let's put it that way. Then I thought, oh, wow, this isn't just one thing I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with all the other stuff. And that was massive for me
Mm-hmm.
because I hadn't dealt with it. But like you say, there's lessons in that. And again, I'll quote you don't get the transformation if you do hit the easy button. So the lessons are there. The pain is valuable. And it is, it's definitely worth coming through, isn't it? Because what you get at the other side is so beneficial.
Right.
But like you've said, to have that courage to go through it. And in your book, you've actually well, it's the truth, isn't it? But so beautifully written the contrast between the way you were dealing with things and the way your ex was dealing with things. And it really that's what made me think. And I thought, and I've got to be honest, I was your ex. I wasn't. I'm not saying I was on his side, but that was, I go, oh my God, that's me. Oh, that's me. And not realizing when I've done that to other people, and confessing here, I have done that, just gone, I'm off, I'm getting on with my life because I'm not having the pain and I'm not dealing with your pain either to that
Mm-hmm.
other person,
Right.
pushing them away and moving on and pretending everything's okay. I haven't really realized how hurtful that was to them. Didn't, wasn't think too caught up in my own protection, if you like, my own
Right.
fear, to actually think, oh, this is, I'm not helping that other person. I got to be honest with you, at the time I didn't care
Mm-hmm.
because I was so involved in protecting me. And I
Right.
think that's what it was.
That's,
Don't like to think I was a really nasty person, but I was at the time. What
but
I was doing was quite nasty.
but I think we don't realize it because we're so through our experiences. That's a protection, a safety mechanism to
Mm,
not want to go there, to keep ourselves from harm, and so that's just our ego wanting to be comforted. But in the time, like,
yes.
and that's first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing and open and transparent and sharing your experience, because I think a lot of people relate. And I'm not. This isn't to say I haven't hit the easy button. A lot of the times I have. In this
Mm,
case, it was just a point of yeah, it was a choice. I was like, I can either stay stuck in this story and keep um, trying to make it work just like I had with everything else, and trying to, again, shape and shave parts of myself to get to stay in that story and try to cling to that because that was easier, that was more familiar. Or I could go
mm,
and say, what is behind this? Where is the deeper messages and wisdom in this pain that I can help myself become the person I want to be, instead of this person I had become, attaching myself to the story that I had learned to adapt to my entire life. So I think
mm,
that going into, having, having that contrast to compare which way, like we have that awareness, like you said, you didn't realize at the time it was a choice, but we really
mm,
always have a choice. We just don't always
yeah,
think we do. And so
yeah,
because we think, well, I'll just do what I've always done. But that's where the key is in the transformation. And yes, it is harder. Yes, that's why, like, I still experience it too, like going into the pain of things, because as, what do I say? The deeper it gets, the deeper it gets. And it really does get deep. And so
mm,
it's either that or just continuing to um, constantly escape the human experience. I feel like when we
yes,
do that, when we're escaping our pain, we're bypassing what it is to be human, because we're
yeah,
meant to have all the emotions. We are sentient beings. We are meant to experience the fullness of life. And how can we know all of it if we don't feel all of it, if we avoid all of it? So I feel like that for me at that time, I felt grateful that I was like willing to first have the awareness that this was an opportunity to not continue to do what I'd always done and hit that easy
yeah,
button, but
mm,
to take the harder, the what was in the short term the harder way, but in the long term the easier way, really, because doing that healing work helps me be better in my relationships now. And so that's what we miss in that, because we're protecting our ego in that. Yes,
mm,
it's uncomfortable at the front end, but on the back end of that, it is so much more rewarding, because all of our relationships are benefiting from that healing that we're doing.
mm,
And we're not triggered in a moment disproportionately to what's going on, which I've experienced too lately. Like, there's still parts of myself that need healing, and we can react in a disproportionate way to what is actually happening. Like I said, the pain of the moment isn't always that. It's not always about that. It's about what's beneath that. So that's why it's important not to hit the easy button and keep going, because as we know, that accumulates. It accumulates energetically, physically, all of that. So, and then that
mm,
becomes our way of operating. We're always operating from that unhealed pain. So that's
mm,
why it's so important. While that easy button is a good kind of reference point to ask yourself when you're in that moment, do I hit the easy button this time, or am I gonna really look at this and feel this?
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
think it's so wonderful what you've explained there because, like I say, I didn't really know there was a choice. I didn't really think I probably did, but I wasn't going there. And I think it's important for people to know there is a choice and that you can actually do it the I'd say the harder way, the more painful way. But it is, and you said, you lent into it, you let yourself do that, you gave yourself almost permission to do that.
mhm.
And I'd like to think maybe gave yourself time to do that because I was too caught up in the busyness of everyday life. I haven't got time to cry, I haven't got time to be poorly.
Right.
So that's avoidance, I know now. But that, this is something, and with my calmer self method, I encourage people to take that pause. Doesn't have to be for long, but sometimes it is. And I know you do with your healing work.
Mhm.
It's as well, it's supporting people around that, isn't it? And we both do that in our work.
Mhm.
Being able to, it's again that asking for help, going to someone, sharing. I was another one of those people that didn't want to tell people I was hurting. I thought, I'm okay, it's fine. I put on that act. But you're absolutely right. Once I learnt how to be brave enough to feel that pain,
Mhm.
then what came as a result was that I could feel all the beauty and the joy as well, which I didn't realize again that I was missing that too. I was
Yeah.
missing so much. So you've really shared that so beautifully.
And that's the beauty of it, because then that's like you said, take that pause. That's what you do. That's what you teach people, to
Mm,
come back to their calm. And it's in that space. And when we do that more and more, we allow ourselves to do that. The all real collective change begins with us. I mean, ultimately, we could go on and on into a different avenue with this conversation, but if we're allowing ourselves that time to take that pause and say, hey, I have a choice here in this moment. I can, and this is for everything. It's not about like just relationships. It's like if you're in a job that isn't, fulfilling, or, you
yeah.
know, any
Mm,
kind of dynamic that isn't aligned with where you're at. It's okay to, take pause and to really feel into
mm,
that, and to
mm,
not just hitting the easy button and say, okay, I'm too busy for that. And I'll do that. And like you said, I could do that too. And I had like
mm,
something came up this weekend, and I had so much work to do, but I was like, I need to take time out and just be
mm,
with this
good.
and heal this, because it'll keep
Mm,
showing up if we don't. And it'll keep showing up
mm,
louder and louder and in bigger ways and more devastating ways if we don't heal that in the moment, when we have that awareness of it, when we have that
mm,
moment of choice. So I'm so glad that you brought this up, and it's a big message of the book, because we want to always be in our comfort, and when we're in it, but we need to like change the narrative on that, and remind ourselves that it's okay to feel uncomfortable. If we're uncomfortable, we know we're doing something different, and maybe we're actually doing something that's taking us closer to our truest self. That,
yeah.
because the comfort, for in my own experience anyways, the comfortable place was always where everyone else felt better about me, but did I really feel better about me? Like,
Yeah.
no.
That's so
So
true, isn't it? Because a lot of, and going back to, I think, what I was doing, I didn't want to be a blubbering wreck. I didn't want to be,
mhm,
in front of everyone else. It wasn't just protecting me, I think. It was also going, oh, no one wants to hear this. No one wants to witness this. So,
mhm,
so I was uncomfortable with that as well, showing my vulnerability, showing my feelings, that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people can probably relate to that as
yeah,
well, because oh, I can't do that. It's people don't want to hear, people don't want to know. And you hinted a little bit earlier about something that's happened recently. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but you did what is lovely is that you actually recognized that you need to just take that step back for a
mhm,
moment and look after you, because everything else will wait, and everything does wait. The world
yeah,
doesn't stop if you just take a little bit of time out to, I like to say, lick your wounds,
right.
because we need to,
We
don't we?
need
We
to.
need to
It's
do that.
we need to. We're so much better
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of it. And we're, like you said, like if we're not doing that, we're holding it. We're walking around it with this
Yeah,
wound, and it's ready to erupt at any moment, at the wrong person, at whatever.
exactly.
And our really, we know this. So that's why,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what happened was, and I'm going to do a whole nother probably live or something about this, because I found
Mm-hmm.
out that, by the way, if anyone's buying my book in the US, buy it from Barnes and Noble. Unless if you buy it from Amazon, you won't be guaranteed the book as the way that I crafted it.
Oh,
So
Trish.
the way Amazon does their business is they sell it out to third-party printers, or they print it themselves, but they, there's other people that have access to printing your book. So somebody has ordered my book and it is completely not, well, not completely, but the color is off. Like, I carefully designed this book. It has my name on it. I spent 3 years, and now it's
Mm.
being like basically ripped off, and I'm being cut out of the equation. My publisher is being cut out of the equation.
Oh,
There's so much
Trish.
more to this, but it feels like
Oh,
a violation. It
yeah,
feels like a
doesn't it?
violation.
Well,
So
yes.
there was some healing for me to
Oh,
do. I
dear,
will I
dear.
will share more about that. And so you
Yeah,
can still
let's
buy
do
your book
another
from
one. Do
Amazon,
another
but
one.
know that it might not be guaranteed to be the actual book that I created from my publisher, in the colors, in the design, in the margins that took me forever to get right, which, yes, there's
Yeah.
imperfection in my book. There is still imperfection that I wove into that I allowed to stay there. And I intentionally did that. But to have somebody come and, take that and totally, I was devastated when I found this out. So
I can imagine. How awful for you. Oh, that's just, yeah.
yeah,
I'm glad you shared that because
yeah,
people need to know, don't they?
yep.
So that's a valuable point, isn't it? So where did you say to get it from? Is it
So,
Barnes and
well,
Noble?
Barnes and Noble, I don't know. This was just Amazon.com. I've ordered a book from Amazon.ca, and I'm hoping that it's not the same. And I know it's available on Amazon globally because I've checked. It's on Amazon in the UK. It's on Amazon in India. So likely globally, it's being, you know, fed out to other third parties to print it. So just know
Mm,
this, my book, like, because of the color of it, it's a distinct color. I chose that for a reason. It's not,
yes.
and if
Yeah.
that color is off, it changes the whole, when people are getting my book, they
Mm.
say, I feel the love, I feel the art, I
That's the thing.
feel the
It's you,
heart and
isn't it?
soul
So
that went
personal.
into this. So it's
Mm,
like, this is what I worked on for the last 3 years. And for
mm,
that to, somebody to take a sledgehammer to that and cut me out of it. And then on top,
mm, mm.
like, slander my work, for lack of a better word. I'm still processing the language to use around it, because what is it? It
Yeah.
does feel like a violation. So, not to get off
Mm,
on another tangent on this, because I will be speaking about this separately, but it is another thing that I had to, is a real life, like, I always share my experiences in real time with when I'm going through them. So it was a real life experience that I was going through, that I could have, hit the easy button and said, I'm the victim, I'm this, but I need to get all this work done and I'll stuff it down. No, I took that
mm.
time to process it and to
Yeah.
heal it and to be with
Mm,
myself, to feel all the feels, and then be in a better position now on the other side of that to understand what that was all about. So that's the opportunity that we're gifted, the transformation we're gifted,
mm.
even like little baby transformations like that. And I don't think anything is really a baby transformation, but it might
Never,
feel like
never.
it in the moment, because it's one moment, but then all of that
One
builds
step,
up
isn't it?
to a greater, when you look back at how far you've come at any given time. It all is so worth that initial pain that we had to sit in to be there. So
Mm, mm. Yeah, so you're right, isn't it? This has happened. We can share it today, which is a blessing in a way, isn't it?
mhm.
I'm so sorry that this happened to you, but it's reality, isn't it? It's what
Yep.
happens. But you, because of what you've learned and how you've learned to look after yourself, you could step back and you can see that, yes, you'll go through this and you're hurting right now. I can tell,
Mhm.
and I really feel for you, but you can get this sorted. And
Yep.
again, if you had just stuffed it down and got on, I'm too busy to deal with this, that would have been so damaging for you personally, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
So you've learnt not to do that, and for that, it's another way, isn't it? It's that choice that you've made to do it a better way for you, and that is a good thing, really,
Yeah,
isn't it? So,
yeah, and it
mm,
it it is. I just lost sight of what I was going to say, but I think, yeah. Oh, I know. I want to keep this kind of short, but if I
yeah.
were to just stuff that down, what ends up happening is resentment builds, and resentment is like one of the biggest
Yeah.
weapons we have, because
Mm,
it comes out at like the most unexpected times, because we think we're okay to not feel what we're feeling in a given moment, and But the other thing I wanted to share too is when we do this, when we give ourselves this space and we tell people this is what I'm doing, then other people are going to be like, oh, I'm going through this. You know what? I'm going to take time for me right now. And the more and more we
That's
do that, the more that we model that for other people, and it becomes our way of being rather than this always having to get everything done regardless of how we're feeling. So
yes,
real
yeah.
change, like is another message of the book, begins with us. It begins
Mm,
inside. And so
mm,
that is by us taking the time to process what we're feeling. It's everything is
mm,
about that, because we're constantly in relationship to one another in one way or another.
mm.
So
Totally, totally, and you're absolutely right. And I think our lovely Cornelia is watching us at the
she is.
moment,
I
and
see you. Hi, Cornelia.
she's very much for speaking it out. You've just
Yeah.
done that, which is wonderful, and also for just taking that time, taking what you need. It is so important, isn't it? And like you say, you've said it now. Another one of Cornelia's words that I've picked up is way shower. You're showing the way.
Mm,
You're going, this is how I dealt with this. A lot of people will relate to you. Go, oh God, that kind of thing happened to me.
mm-hmm.
And then they go, oh, this is how Trish dealt with it. I can do that too. And that's what's so valuable, isn't it? And I know that's one of the reasons we wanted to have these chats live,
Yeah. And
because it's helpful, isn't it?
yeah, and to share the message. I mean, that's the overarching message of the book, is to go there, to go into it and to feel it and come out
Mm-hmm.
transformed. It's a message
Yeah,
of transformation, and self-love is found there
mm-hmm.
too. So that's the
Exactly.
foundation.
That is exactly love
Yeah.
me. It's definitely, isn't it? But I think as well, as I've already said this to you, but sharing it for everyone else to hear again, I take my time reading your book. And actually, I really am going, right, I'm going to give myself this time. I know there's going to be some thought process there. There might be some emotion coming up. I'm giving myself that space and time to do that. Every time I pick your book up, I'm going, right, here we go. What am I going to hear today? What's going to come out to me?
Yeah.
What's going to come up emotionally for me as well? And that is, in a strange way, even though some of it is a little bit painful, it's a joy. And I
Mm.
thank you for that, because
Oh,
I'm
thank
actually
you.
giving it's almost like a little therapy session for me and your book. Just to go, right, I'm going to sit down and do this. I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time. I want to think. And those, as I say, those two little quotes that I came up that mentioned the easy button really, really gave me that opportunity to reflect back, for a start, to see how far I've come, how I
Mm-hmm.
don't do that anymore,
Yeah.
but also to question why I did it in the first place. And I'd welcome anybody to perhaps comment if they want to, or get in touch with us separately if they want to later on, and just maybe share with them, when they've hit the easy button, because I'm sure we've all done it,
Yeah.
and how we can change.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for going there, for speaking it so beautifully, how you're experiencing this book, because yeah, it is one of those books that it takes a moment to digest and reflect, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
intention with this, to not be an easy read necessarily, and an easy read meaning like just front to back and in a weekend, because it's really I take you on that journey with me, and there's emotion there, and
Yeah.
it's meant to help. Was healing for me, but it's meant to help others in their own. So I thank you so much for bringing this forward, and for bringing your questions and the topics that are sparking something
Mm.
within you, and we're going to continue to do this. So
We are, and I thank you on behalf of everyone, because everyone that picks this book up will get some healing from you directly
yeah,
through this book. So
thank
thank
you,
you for doing this for us all, Trish. It's really, really lovely. So
thank you.
I look forward to the next chit chat we
Yeah, me
have.
too. Where can people find you, by the way, if they want to work with
The
you?
The best way to find me and you, Trish, and lots of other wonderful people, is on the KS Media Group app. You can download it and you can create your own free account, get access to everything that that I do. I can't say that right, that I do, and that Trish does. It's all in there. There's lots of healing in there, isn't there? There's lots
There
of
is.
opportunities for healing in there.
Yeah.
But that's the best place to find us both, isn't it? And lots of other
Yes.
wonderful people.
Best place to find me too. And if you're looking for a place to start, once you've looked through the directory and found us there, the universal question we're always asking and answering with you each week. And these last 3 weeks, it's been about creating our vision for 2022. So we're doing that
Mm.
intentionally. We are empowered in our creation, and now this week it's all about taking the action to support that vision. So for what we want for our lives.
Yes,
So it's all tied together. It's all tied together.
it's all there, isn't it? It's all
Yeah.
there for us. And that is brilliant. But
Yeah.
no, thank you again,
Thank
Trish. As
you.
I say, I'm loving going slowly through your beautiful book.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And we'll do this again soon.
We will, we will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye, everybody.